So why visibility matters. I don't know how much more to reiterate it in just the sense that like I know how important it's been for me to see myself in the world around me, like I've said before. Recently, we saw people get upset about Dylan Mulvaney, a trans person, being on a Bud Light can, to the Little Mermaid, being played by a Black actress, to I was trying to think Target, to Walmart, to there's all these sorts of things which I think really speak to the power of representation and why it matters, and why it is so important, I think, for marginalized folks, and in particular, to have visibility as well, especially variety of visibility. I think that's the other thing that I haven't really spoken to that's difficult. So I know that I was exposed or come to know about people's differences through because when you're not in an environment in which you see people that are different than yourself, you tend to learn about them either by what other people around you, how they talk about them, or potentially how you've seen them portrayed in movies or talked about on television or in music. And so these can create oftentimes negative stereotypes, or the thing that becomes more problematic is that it creates kind of like one narrative, or one or two narratives on a group of people. And it's a narrative that seems so far from ourselves that it creates stigma. It creates these perceived assumptions about other people, which I think sometimes creates a wall and a barrier for us to then begin to see the humanity in one another, and even recognize that we're not seeing the humanity in one another when we're limiting people to that one part of their experience, whether it's their gender, their race, their age, their ability, their location in the country, their socioeconomic status. There's so many things about us that we can people can get stuck on and we begin to lose our humanity. We can also begin to stop seeing the humanity in others when we hook on one thing about them. That's one of the things that I really love about my relationship with my Aunt Tina, who's a conservative Christian, and we have our Splintered Grace podcast, because that is one community of people that I find it very difficult to have compassion and understanding and want to be in the same room with people who identify as conservative Christians, or folks who would have a problem with me as an LGBTQ person in some ways. And so being in a relationship with my aunt, who is a conservative Christian, I've been able to I don't understand why or how she believes some of the things that she believes in it. I don't necessarily have to agree with everything, but what I've come to be able to do is see her beyond her, that part of herself, but not in the sense of like kind of becoming blind to it. It's that idea of like being colorblind or whatever. It's not about that at all. It's actually me being able to recognize that that's a part of her, and a part of her that doesn't have to separate us completely. I think that's something that I'm still kind of like figuring out, and definitely like speaking to, I think can be very challenging and difficult. What I do know is that I've been able to be in a very loving, connected, and intimate relationship in which I do not feel like I've had to betray myself or abandon myself or give up on my values or my morals in order to be in relationship with her. In fact, I think that I've been able to live more into my values and my morals and my beliefs and my understandings by being in relationship with her. And I've gained so much strength and inspiration and hope from her, not in the sense of just providing some companionship and loving and caring support and concern about me and what's going on in my life, but also I've been actually able to gain spiritual insight and inspiration and strength from how her understanding of all that causes her to be in the world in a way in which allows her to really show up for me, and for me to feel the love that she has for me to receive the kindness and generosity that she wants and desires to be able to give to me, as well as me being able to do the same for her as well. And in doing that, it's really helped me to begin to try to have some compassion for other folks who might wear similar labels that she does, so that I can know that there's more, that I can be reminded of all of our humanity, because I do believe that we are all connected and that we are all one, and all of us. And I believe that a lot of our purpose, or a lot of the growth or the intentionality of all of us being here, maybe, I don't know, this is where I'm at with it, but is the idea that we can get into a space. What I do know is I do want to be part of creating a world in which we all can have a better experience, with ourselves and with one another, with the earth, with the creatures and the people on the earth, and with one another. And I think the big thing is also within ourselves, and that's what a lot of this comes down to. Like, I'm a much better person with difference and with the more that is around me, when I can be more okay with me and who I am and how I am and what I value, and how I act, and what I've come to understand about myself, and continue to come to understand more of. And in doing that, again, my focus on me allows me to be better with the more. And I think that's always kind of the paradox of how do we make this not all about us and not be so self-centered, but also how do we not become so focused on everyone else that we don't do something within us. And the reality is, if we're having a problem, if we're having some wonky experience with what's happening in the world around us, that's something for us to look at. That's probably some information telling us that, I don't know, if I'm having such a strong adverse reaction to something, there's probably something inside me that's hitting. And that's something that I can begin to kind of explore and pray on, or meditate on, or talk with close friends about, or read on, or whatever, and just try to sense what is this disturbance within myself? What's that all about? Because oftentimes, I know there's been plenty of times in my life when some person, and I'll just put it this, there could be some person who does the same thing. They're always acting the same way. And most of the time, I don't care. And then all of a sudden I'm having an issue with the way that they've always been, or, whatever. And really there's something more about me that's going on than really is what they're doing. And so I think that's, if you're having a hard time and a difficulty with seeing diversity, or seeing less of yourself in the world around you, I think that's just something to look into. And I think it's hard for me I don't know that that's a message for folks who, maybe it is a message for all of us. It probably is a message for all of us to some degree, varying depths and understanding. And with everything, it's about variations. Sometimes we need to be surrounded by sameness in order to be able to be in places in which we are not the same. And we need to be in those places in which we're not the same in order to be better as well too. So, and plus it's just the truth of the world that we get to live in. So I'm not sure where all this went. I feel like we're at that time frame. Yep. Oh, wow. We're well over that time frame. She can just get going sometimes. So I do want to thank our Patreon members, for folks, if you'd like to support more conversations like this, and some of the other podcasts and stuff that I do. Do check out the links in the description if you want to learn a little bit more about the work that I do. The work that I do, I never want to put a price tag on anything. I never want to ask for anything, but also I need to, I guess, give people also an opportunity to contribute in whatever forms and ways they can. And that can be by subscribing to like my YouTube channel. That could be sharing this conversation or other conversations with other people. And for some of you, you might feel like you'd like to contribute financially. And so I have a Patreon, I have Venmo, all those sorts of things could be really helpful at this particular time in my life in particular. But again, I never want that to be a barrier to being in conversation with you. So the links are in the description if you want to get connected more, learn more about me and the other podcasts that I have and the work that I'm doing. I'm always looking for bookings. I'm always eager and willing to get together for coffee, whether that's in person or over the phone or Zoom. You can't call me right now, but you can still message me through email or socials and we can set up a time to connect. I really love to, one of the reasons why I do this is really to feel more connected. And so hearing from you is always greatly welcomed and appreciated. So take care, be well. And in the credits, you'll see the folks who've been contributing thus far on my Patreon. Thank you all for your continued support and love. Talk to you next week and have a great Pride Month. Bye-bye.
I've been waiting all my life for something. I've been down the darkest roads and up in the clouds, but I've always felt that something's missing. That was until I found you right there in the crowd. You came into my life and started a fire. You made me feel like I could touch the sky. Oh, there's nothing missing now that you're my